Hi, I'm Father Bob Pecoraro, and I'd like to welcome you to our third installment of the Graces of the Move to Greater Love retreat. And the graces we've been praying over for the last 2 weeks is the grace of vision. And we began and ended this 2-week cycle at the entrance of a tomb. At the beginning of this week, we were at the entrance of the tomb of Lazarus, and we completed this week at the entrance of Christ's own tomb. We need the tomb. Jesus dies. He really dies, and he enters the tomb. And it's important because he brings into the tomb with his own woundedness and scarredness, brokenness, his fear and his anxieties, all of our woundedness, brokenness, scarredness, fear and anxieties, so that they can be transformed with his in the resurrection. So what do you ask Christ to bring into the tomb? What are those parts of yourself that need to be transformed? What are those things that you need to bring in and have transformed by the resurrection to the tomb of Christ? Because the Jesuit spiritual writer John English tells us that Jesus dies an individual and rises a community. And it's quite interesting that we've been using John's Gospel as we do each Lenten season. Because in John's Gospel, there is none of the turmoil of the Synoptic Gospels. There's no jeering crowds, no loud cry when Jesus dies. The fourth evangelist provides no narrative details that will distract from the essential focus of the crucifixion story. Jesus' serene and controlled gift of his life and love. The key to the dignity that surrounds Jesus' death in John's Gospel are the words, "It is finished." Jesus dies with a public proclamation of the completion of the mission on his lips. The words he speaks on the cross in Mark and Matthew, my God, why have you forsaken me?" is a theological impossibility for John. God and Jesus are united in work and in love, and that unity is strengthened, not broken, at Jesus' death. Jesus' death fills him not with a sense of despair nor a sense of abandonment, because he knows that he has lived fully the mission that God has given him. And this is why vision is the grace we pray for in this section of the Move to Greater Love retreat. Jesus fully lives out the mission given to him by the Father. What is the mission that you are called to live out? What is the mission that each and every one of us has had placed in our hearts? What is God calling us to do? How is God calling us to co-labor with him in the world for salvation, as Christ did? Jesus revealed the truth of God to an often hostile world, knowing from the very beginning that such words and works could cost him his life, but also knowing that his life and work on earth glorified God. How are you called to glorify God? Can you do this even in the face of great adversity? Can you do this in the face of challenge? This is the vision we're asked to contemplate. This is the grace we are asked to pray for in this section of the Move to Greater Love retreat. In Jesus' death, then, the reader is confronted one last time with both the wonder and the poignancy of the incarnation. Because Jesus is human, because he can and will die, he can reveal the fullness of God's love in ways never before possible. Because he reveals God's love in categories that derive from human experience. In his death, Jesus gives up what human beings hold so dear, life. And he gives it up because he chose to do so in love. Jesus lays his life down in love for those he loves. And the meaning of his life and love are redefined. Life becomes an expression of love, the ultimate gift. Love, love unto death, becomes the only true source of life. Jesus' gift of his life on the cross then becomes the ultimate gesture of love and grace. And so for us as disciples then, to love as he loves means to give without counting, to love without restraint. We are told in the first letter of John that love casts out fear. It is this love of Jesus on the cross to which he refers. If we love enough to know we will give our life, our all, to those we love, well then what is there to fear? To live in and out of such love is to live fully in the presence of God. And so the grace we're asked for, the grace of vision, is the grace to see that love in fact transforms suffering. Love in fact transforms pain. Love in fact transforms woundedness and scarredness. And as we move forward into the final phase of this retreat and pray about the grace of joy, we will see through the resurrection how God's great love transforms each and every one of us. And so the question to ponder is, what has this 2 weeks of vision brought into your life? How, as Christ acted out on his mission, do you feel you should act on yours? Perhaps as you pray through the final segment of joy through the eyes of the resurrected Christ, you might ponder, what actions is God asking me to take? How would I like to turn this prayerful experience into action? Thank you, and I look forward to our next time together.